This is the fifth video from It Can Happen Here, a non-partisan, non-profit organization dedicated to protecting all of the individual freedoms guaranteed to Americans by the Bill of Rights. In these videos, we are exploring the claims that Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate in 2024, wants to be a fascist dictator and what that would mean to individual freedoms. In earlier videos, we discussed who was making that claim, what defines fascism, what a fascist dictatorship would mean to our First Amendment rights, and most recently, the likelihood that a fascist dictator would undermine the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Last time we noted that the 400 million guns currently owned by US civilians, including 17.7 million semi-automatic weapons, is entirely without precedent. Some of those weapons might impede a dictator from seizing power, or they might be used to support a fascist takeover. In any event, however, we concluded that an American dictator was extremely unlikely to allow civilians to hold so many weapons, which is 100 times as many guns as the entire US military, because of the threat that those guns would pose to his grip on power. So then, how could a fascist dictator actually take away American guns? An authoritarian leader, no matter how popular or politically powerful, would find it extremely difficult to simply confiscate hundreds of millions of weapons. On the other hand, someone like Donald Trump, who already has the support and loyalty of the vast majority of gun owners, would have an alternative: try to co-opt them. According to the 2018 book How Dictatorships Work by Geddes, Wright and France, during the first 5 years after a fascist takeover, dictators often establish new security agencies and paramilitary forces who work together to suppress dissent and eliminate the disloyal. For Hitler, it was the Gestapo and the brown shirts. For Mussolini, it was the Overer and the black shirts. The members of both organizations typically swear their loyalty to the fascist leader personally rather than to the country itself. Updating this playbook to 21st century America, one could easily imagine Trump or another dictator forming a paramilitary force comprised of American private gun owners, armed with their own personal weapons, loyal to him personally. Once enrolled in the dictator's private militia, the civilian weapons and their owners would become an asset to the authoritarian state rather than a threat. Of course, not every gun owner would sign up for this personal militia, but it would only be a question of time before the militia and an equally loyal secret police force would begin to confiscate the weapons of those gun owners who refused to enlist. Would removing the threat of 400 million civilian guns be an easy task for an American fascist dictator? No, it would not. In fact, every step in the process would carry the risk of inciting a civil war between gun owners loyal to the dictator and those opposed to him. On the other hand, if an American dictatorship does happen, then it is quite certain that the dictator will feel compelled to take whatever steps are necessary to eliminate the risk of civilian gun ownership to his rule. Next time, we will talk about how a fascist dictatorship would withdraw our Fourth Amendment protections against governmental searches and seizures of property, including the likelihood of universal electronic surveillance of American citizens by their own government. Remember, fascism can happen here only if we don't stop it.